Hey friends, it's Marilyn from tarotclarity.com, and I know I dropped a video earlier this morning, but that was before I realized it was St. Patty's Day. So happy St. Patty's Day, everyone. This is the only green shirt I own. I've had it for years, and it's a fun shirt. It's legal in New Jersey. At any rate, well, actually, I have another green shirt, but my mother died in it. My mother, I had a green shirt that my mother really thought was very comfortable. So when she was in the process of dying, I wanted her to be comfortable. So I put her in the green shirt, and then sure enough, she died in it. So I have the willies about wearing it. I kept it. And I've worn it once for St. Patty's Day a number of years ago, but it kind of gives me the willies to wear, so maybe I won't. I decided today I'd wear this one. Anyway, had I realized when I woke up this morning that today was St. Patrick's Day, I would have done this video today, and the one I dropped earlier today, I would have just dropped it tomorrow. But how can I let St. Patty's Day go without saying something? Now, I have not a drop, not a drop of Irish blood in me, nothing. And I'm not really familiar with Irish traditions. I just know that, they celebrate St. Patty's Day, right? But we all feel Irish on St. Patty's Day, Who doesn't love a corned beef sandwich on St. Patty's Day, unless you're vegan? But you know what I'm saying. My husband and I will drink our green Heineken today, our green bottle of Heineken, we drink non-alcoholic Heineken because neither of us can drink alcohol, but we do enjoy the taste of the beverage. But at any rate, today I thought it would be fun to drop a video on decks that maybe aren't Irish per se, but share an ancestry, if you go deep enough, the Celtic ancestry. Now, my father maintained that we were Celtic, but I think our Celtic blood came in root of Spain and Portugal and the French. I've had my DNA, and I had it done a number of years ago, and I keep up with it every few weeks, or not even weeks, every few days. I check on it to see how they update it, because they continually update it. And not once has there been a drop of Irish blood mentioned in my ancestry. But I do have Celtic, and so therefore the part that combines many Europeans is a Celtic origin, perhaps. Now, the three decks that I have that feel Celtic in nature are the Wildwood Tarot, the Druidcraft Tarot deck, and then I have a Robin Wood Tarot. So I thought this would be a fun time to showcase them, because I probably would never show them otherwise. I would never show them, and they're beautiful decks. So we have the green Mardi Gras beads here and everything. Okay, the Wildwood Tarot I have in the box. I think the date on this card is 2011. Okay, now the Druidcraft, I think my cards say 2004, but the book itself says another date, a later date, like maybe 2009. And then the Robin Wood deck, I no longer have the box. I bought this when it first came out, I'm pretty sure. There's no date anywhere. Unfortunately, in those days, the trend was to get rid of the box and put it in a thing, So unfortunately, I don't have the box for that. So let's take a look. Let's compare all three. For the Wildwood, and I'm just going to keep them in their respective order. So we have the Wanderer for the Wildwood. Look how beautiful. We have a rainbow. The Druid one is more in keeping with Rider-Waite-Smith tradition, as is the Robin Wood. So for all three of these decks, you know, the magician is not the batelier, you know, or the con man or the street vendor, right? It's more of a person with power. So in that regard, they all seem to be, so far, in keeping with Rider-Waite-Smith tradition as far as meanings go. Now here we have, it's a woman with mystical power. So perhaps an equivalent to the magician, a female equivalent for this one as well. And this one is more the high priestess, which would align it more with the Pope, I think. The green woman for the Empress, the lady, we have the green man for the Emperor. And, you know, I'm not so sure that, you know, they're transcribing, you know, the same attributes to these cards as Rider-Waite-Smith or the Waite-Coleman-Smith deck. This one does. So. So for the Pope, we have the ancestor. Yeah. Here we have a high priest, more in keeping with the Pope, and definitely the Pope here. Here we have a little bit of a reference to the Adam and Eve, right? Like we do in the Rider-Waite-Smith. Okay, so in place of the chariot, you know, we have the archer, which is quite different. But we do have a chariot in the Druid, and we have a chariot in the Robin Hood. So this card seems to be a bit of like, you know, social awareness or readjustment, you know, so that you keep in line with the well-being of the community. This one is strength. Perhaps this one is too, maybe I misunderstood it. And here we have strength here. But this doesn't seem to be referencing strength. This seems to be more referencing law and order. Okay, we have the hanged one, the hanged man. Oh, excuse me, I apologize. The hooded man, the hermit. Oh, okay, maybe I was right, because this, we have a cat here. So this could be suggesting courage or strength, fortitude. And then, of course, these two would be justice. The mirror for the hanged one, which may have been a reference to old school prudence as the hanged man, right? Could be. Oh, what a beautiful death card, huh? Wow. The journey. Balance. For temperance. The ferial. I'm not sure what that tradition is, but it probably has to do with creating concoctions, perhaps. So far, the Robin Wood deck has the flavor of, I guess, pagan traditions, but aligning it more with the Waite Coleman Smith deck, whereas the other two seem to have their own take. Here we have the Guardian for the devil, like the mouth of hell. And then this suggesting, not so much evil or wickedness, but just the pleasure of sex, right? And then this is more in keeping with being a slave to a vice, to our vices. The Blasted Oak, very interesting that they take it's kind of a nod to some of the older tarot decks that, have the tree, like the Via Veal, right? And then we have a tower in a very traditional, kind of more or less traditional, and this is very traditional. The Pole Star, wow, what a pretty card. Okay, this one adopted is the Aquarius portrayal of the star, as did the Robin Wood. The moon. The sun of life. So if you see enough tarot decks, you definitely can see some of their references, right? Wow, this is interesting for Judgment. The Great Bear. Oh. It seems like a resting place. As does this. Rebirth, okay? Wow, what lovely representations. And I think here we have the same idea, the phoenix. The world tree. So I think the Wildwood Tarot really is the one that has more of its own thing going on, with less homage to Rider-Waite-Smith and the others. They renamed the suits too. So I believe that the swords are arrows. They're the ones that pierce. And I think I came to understand that arrows were the equivalent of swords because we have this image for the Three of Arrows, which kind of told me that this this suit in this deck aligns with the swords. Oh, wow, look at that. What a cool ace of swords. So we do have a nod to Rider-Waite-Smith here with this, and clearly this. Most, these decks, they can't get away. They can't get away from the Three of Swords. It always seems to, the image of Rider-Waite-Smith, no matter how much they wander from maybe, total, Rider-Waite-Smith tradition, the Three of Swords gets them every time. Okay, we have the Four of Swords. So for the first two decks, the Wildwood and the Druid, their departures were more significantly portrayed in the Triumph cards, right? Whereas their pip cards follow more in the tradition of Rider-Waite-Smith. And of course, with the Wildwood, I failed to mention that the pip cards, they seem to have like keywords, right? So if you aren't exactly following, what they're getting at, you have the little keyword here. Now we don't have that kind of thing with the Seven of Cups, but you look at the picture, it may remind you of Narcissus. Which one of them is the one that looked at himself in the pool? Of course, he's not seeing himself. He's seeing the water, so that's probably not a Narcissus. Our cuckoo clock. Oh, I messed up. Okay, what did I do wrong? Okay, 7. My bad. Wait a minute. What did I do? Hold on. So I'm not exactly sure what I did wrong there, but hopefully I've corrected it now. 7 of Arrows, 7 of Swords, 7 of Swords. Oh, I did it again. Lord have mercy. Okay, now I think I got it right. Yes, this is very much in keeping with Rider-Waite-Smith here, as is this one. So dedication is quite a different meaning than the familiar one here, right? And then we have here, so 9 of Arrows of the Wildwood Tarot is quite different. So I guess even with the pips, with some of the pips, the Wildwood has its own, it goes in its own direction. And in the Druidcraft tarot deck, the princesses are the valets or the pages. And in the Wildwood, it seems as though the court cards are animals. And then the knights in the Druid are princes, not princesses, but princes. Here we have the Queen of Arrows, Queen of Swords of the Druid, and Queen of Swords of the Robin Wood. Kingfisher is the king of arrows. We have the King of Swords in the Druid and the King of Swords in the Robin Wood. Wow, what a beautiful portrayal, right? Isn't that lovely? As is this one. This almost reminds me of the Anna Kay Tarot. If those of you who are familiar with it, doesn't it have the Anna Kay look to it? I would have included it, except I think it's German, but it does have a folky, appeal. I don't think I've ever showcased the Anna Kay on my channel, but it's definitely one that I'd buy my grandchildren. Okay, 4 of Cups. Yeah, they all seem to show the same sense of ennui, boredom, lack of fascination. Blood is spilt. That's interesting. Reunion for the Wildwood. Here we have childhood, as we do here. Mourning, representing the 7 cups. Isn't that an interesting depiction? And then here we had the 7 cups that I misplaced in order. And this, of course, is more in keeping with Rider-Waite-Smith. 8 of Cups. Here we have a sense of abundance, right? Abundance. But here it's more of sadness or turning your back on what you have, as is this one. And this one has more of a Falstaff, like in the Waite, Coleman, Smith tradition, right? A Falstaff character. So we have an otter for the Page of Cups. Isn't that interesting? And in the Druidcraft, the pages, as I mentioned before, are princesses. We have more traditional Page of Cups with the fish in the... Oh, is that a bird or is that a fish? Oh, that's a bird. That's not a fish. Isn't that interesting? And it's been a while since I've gazed on any of these decks. I just sort of bought them, looked at them, used them a few times, and then put them away. But I enjoy pulling them. I enjoy pulling out all my decks every now and then, and I've been doing it more frequently in recent months. Because every deck that's created is a deck in history, right? In 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 100 years, all of these decks will be historic. Wow, look at that. A bit phallic. Excuse me for the cough. I've been suppressing that for about a half hour. Well, not quite. Almost. 2 of bows. 2 of wands. Oh, look at that. Wow. So this ancient individual is looking out into the world forever and ever, as long as it lasts. Isn't that interesting? And I failed to mention that the Wildwood Tarot replaced batons with bows. And we can catch the spirit of the more traditional Rider-Waite-Smith image here. Fun, happy, celebratory. Oh, I got this one in the wrong place. My apologies. I wasn't very careful in getting them in order. Well, I was putting 3 decks together in order, so it started to get a little bit tedious, I guess. 5 wands, 5 bows. I love it. I wonder what clan he's from, right? That kind of has a kiltish feel to it, right? Again, the Wildwood Tarot has its own take, you know, on a lot of the cards, which I think is very nice, you know, and it tells you what their orientation is, you know, and you can expand on the one word very easily. responsibility, which I guess in some ways could be seen as a burden, or, being dutiful. Stoat, it's kind of like a weasel, huh? So as I mentioned, I don't know that any of these decks are overtly, Irish. But, Druids and Celts were not necessarily a homogenous group. I mean, they ranged from like modern day areas of like France, Britain, Ireland, Celtic and Gallic. You don't want to mess with this king. And so they go with the pentacles in these two decks. And I appreciate in the Wildwood Tarot that they did their own thing and that they didn't resort to pentacles, that they did stones, because that would have been more in keeping with ancient people that we're talking about, I would think. Oh, okay. So we have quite a different feel, with protection, keeping something safe, right? But not necessarily money or worldly goods, but maybe matters of the home. Because the suit of coins can represent domestic life, right? Torrance. Almost finished. A couple cards left. So this is my little homage to what connects us, many of us, in the Celtic tradition, and just taking the opportunity to showcase these cards on St. Patrick's Day, who the Irish also share that tradition. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and for those of you who aren't as interested in the traditional pip style decks, or even if you really are, mostly interested in the traditional pip style or Marseille style decks, it's kind of fun sometimes to collect decks from other persuasions, right? I got to put all this away. I'll be busy for a long time. So until next time, friends, peace, stay well, be kind, and do no harm.